Welcome back, everybody. My name is Gecko Lacau, and this is Man Bites Retro. And what we do here, every week there's a new voice that brings forward their favorite person in film history, and we present that voice to you. So please stay tuned for the show. Yes, finally we get to review The Dark Knight, and I have a special guest with us for today, William Phoenix, from our regular podcast.
Hello, everybody. Go is glad to be doing something new and exciting, and it's been a while since I got to do one of these.
I know, right? I know. Oh, now you have that little intro. Every time I hear you do that, I think of the Simpsons episode, dude. It's like, what the fuck? Now I'm stuck with that thing.
Which one?
Hey, Dr. Phil. That whole thing. Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, because you say it exactly with that little accent and everything. I was like, oh wow, really? So. Yeah, today we're actually going to be reviewing my fourth favorite film of all time, which is The Dark Knight.
Yes.
This is the masterpiece of Christopher and Jonathan Nolan, and this is pretty much everybody will always remember Heath Ledger by this film from here on out. This will go in memoriam for him as his masterpiece of film. And honestly, Aaron Eckhart, Michael Caine, Christian Bale, it doesn't take away from all these. Maggie Gyllenhaal, Gary Oldman, Morgan Freeman. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And this is a phenomenal cast, phenomenal film overall. And William, what's your favorite part of this?
Oh my God! I mean, how are we going to start with a question like that? I mean, to me, it has to be the antagonist of it all, with the way that he's portrayed in this movie, and that comes down to Heath Ledger and the Joker.
Yeah.
Just the way, like, so much, and not just in this movie, but from this movie that came out of everything. And, like, we got to see a Joker that I don't know if any of us were really prepared for. Like, I know that when they first announced that Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker, we all had, like, or at least the most part, definitely had one of those, oh dear God, the kid from
10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You and A Knight's Tale is going to play the Joker, and not even like in a campy Batman movie, because the tone had already been set with
Batman Begins.
Batman Begins, so we knew what was coming, and we're getting a comedian pretty much, because I mean, yes, he had done some drama, especially like down in Australia before he made it big here in the US, but for the most part, he was doing comedic parts, and we're like, is he going to, and obviously everybody was going back to Nicholson, because Nicholson was the last person to portray the Joker.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw him do a dramatic role in Brokeback.
Yeah, but I mean, it was I don't know, maybe it's just me. It's just like, to me, there's a difference between being a dramatic role in like a regular drama and being a dramatic role, or being, or how do you call it? When you're trying to pinpoint the evilness or the characteristics of a comic book villain, or even a superhero, but in this case, we're going to talk about the villains. There's been times that, actor, like, for example, look at Jared Leto. Jared Leto has done incredible dramatic roles. I mean, what is it, Dallas Players Club? He was amazing in that.
Yeah.
He's done.
And then what he do with the Joker?
And then he did the Joker, and we all went, "Oh dear God!"
Yeah.
Oh dear God! We thought, okay, let's give him a chance, because we all learned from Heath Ledger that we shouldn't, jump the gun. But my God,
we didn't know he had it in him. Like, we really didn't. Nobody did. I don't think anybody expected what came out of that man's like.
And when you say, he had it in him, he literally had it in him, because he came up with the Joker. It was his baby. It was his doing, down to like the makeup.
Yep.
he went to Christopher Nolan himself and went, he bought stuff at like a Walgreens, like a pharmacy.
Yeah.
Went home and put on the makeup, and then he went to Nolan and basically went, "What do you think of this?" And Nolan literally looked at him and then went to the makeup department and went, "You guys need to learn how to do this because this is going to be the Joker." Like, he came up with everything. He came up. They didn't even come up with a back. They literally told Heath, "You're the Joker. Do as you will." And Heath came up with what he came up.
I knew they gave him a little bit of free reign, but I didn't know it was that extensive.
No, they gave him a lot of free reign. Down, like I said, down to the makeup, the backstory. Like, there was really not much of a backstory that they even touched upon. The only thing they talk about is the fact that he used to be former military, which makes sense because it's kind of like somebody coming back with like PTSD, and the government did him wrong, so now he's fighting the government and everything. And he has that touch because he's always going after like senators, he's going after judges, commissioners, anybody in power that he may think did wrong. That's who he goes with. That's where he wants the anarchy. He was the anarchist Joker. That was the first time we got to see him. We had seen the Clown Prince back in the Batman TV series.
Yeah.
We had seen like businessman Joker with Nicholson.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill gave us animated Joker.
Oh, but his was kind of more like this one, honestly. He was kind of the psychotic with a kind of twist to it, where he was psychotic, yeah, but he was grounded in reality, and he knew what was legit and what wasn't, which was kind of odd for a comic book movie, dude. And it's like, I never read any of the comics, you know that. I'm not a big comic person. And when I saw this film, for it to be on my top 5, first of all, and it's a comic book movie, that says a lot. Because I'm not a big Marvel fan. I'm not a big DC fan. And honestly, yeah, I liked the Tim Burton Batmans back in the 80s, but I never really gave it much thought until this film came out. And this kind of set the bar for everything. And now it's like you look at this and you hold this one in such high esteem, and then you watch all the, for lack of a better word, crap that's coming out now. It's like, right now. I've seen it done better. This year we've had some good ones, which is I'm so happy about. But, previous to this, it's kind of like, whatever. It's been kind of shady or whatever,
Batman, sorry, not Batman. The Dark Knight, like, literally just like, there were so many firsts in the Dark Knight that some people may not even know or realize. Like, for example, The Dark Knight is the first time that the actual word Batman is not in the title. First time ever. The Dark Knight. Hang on, because I was actually like reading up on some stuff earlier this week about it. Was the first time that Batman was not in there. Oh, it was the first time that the actual Batman could turn his head, because they didn't put it in one piece.
Yeah.
Because in the first movie, Christian Bale hated the fact that he could not move. And but again, in true Christian Bale fashion, he used that frustration and anger into Batman and into Bruce Wayne and the anger. But they redesigned it, and they actually even not only redesigned it and tried to sweep it under the carpet, there's a whole scene where Fox introduces him to the new bat suit.
Yeah, which is
and
awesome.
They got rid of the bat nipples.
Yeah, right. That paid service well into actually building the world. This felt like what I like about the Dark Knight trilogy as a whole, honestly, is the fact that it's grounded in reality, and that makes a lot of sense, because it's like that shit could happen. We could get some crazy eccentric billionaire that could actually dress up in all this stuff and build these things and make this actually happen. So it's kind of like it's actually some type of ground in reality, and that's what I love about it.
I mean, like, we are waiting on this billionaire to come out as Batman, because let's face it, we are, and this is where people are going to be like, "Oi, we already have the Joker in the White House, so where's Batman?"
Oh, shut up. Wow.
And that's my one for the show.
But honestly, like I love the fact that Christopher Nolan took the helm at this because I love the fact that Nolan is one of these like old school directors that still does IMAX, not 3D, and actually uses IMAX cameras and practical effects.
Speaking of IMAX, at the time that they shot this, there were only 4 IMAX cameras in the world.
Yes.
Each IMAX camera was going for $500,000. They shot, I think, like 5 or 6 scenes in the entire Batman trilogy, or Dark Knight trilogy, with an IMAX camera. They broke one of the cameras making the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Which
Christopher Nolan's known for that.
Which set them back $500,000. They replaced it, and then when they were filming Dark Knight Rises, the very next movie, they broke another one. The one that they replaced, they broke it. It's like, oh, that's $1 million. Right there. We get mad when we drop like a $200 phone. They dropped a $500,000 camera.
I wonder whose salary went away for that one. Jeez.
Right. That's when you look at the like the cinematographers and camera people and be like, "Oh, you are not in the sequel. That's the person that dropped it."
Yeah, right. Oh man, but the practical effects in this film, that whole scene with the 18-wheeler flipping, and all right, we're going into spoilers, so FYI, guys, if you have not seen this movie, what the hell are you doing?
All right, it's been like 10 years since the movie's been out. At this point, spoilers are pretty much out the window.
Yeah, I agree with you, but hey, there's some asshole that still hasn't seen it, and yeah, I'm talking to you, asshole. Why are you seeing this? But no, like seriously, like the scenes, the explosion in the hospital, that whole scene was all practical effects. They actually blew up and demolition the whole hospital. The 18-wheeler flipping, that's actually a freaking 18-wheeler flipping, dude. That's nuts.
2 things. One, the hospital that they used was actually in a lot of it. Dark Knight that they shot was in London, or was in England anyway.
Yeah.
But that scene where you see the Joker, Heath Ledger, and he presses the button on the detonator, and it doesn't go, and you just see him like kind of like, what the hell, and he just keeps clicking it, and then finally goes off. That was not scripted. That was he stayed in character.
Yeah.
It was a misfire from the demolition crew, which they had a short, and it was not going up. But instead of stopping, and because you imagine, had he actually stopped, they would have said cut, and then they would have blown up the building right after they stopped filming.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But he stayed in character, and he plays well into, because he can totally see the Joker sitting there looking at his mechanism and why is this not working, and then finally blows up and he runs off. And they used also in the tunnel scene right before they flipped the 18-wheeler, it was miniature. They used miniatures because, like you said, Christopher Nolan doesn't, tries not to use CGI as much as possible. But they used miniatures in that scene. And something I hadn't noticed towards the end of that scene is they're coming out of the tunnel. You see the camera. You see like the Joker driving like the armored vehicle.
Yeah.
The bullets in the driver's side of the armored vehicle is actually a smiley face.
I never noticed that. Oh, I'm gonna go back and watch that now. Oh, that's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
That's freaking hilarious. I didn't notice that. That's really cool. That whole sequence is one of the most amazing car chase sequences. It's like up there with French Connection and even the Fast and Furious movies. Like this takes a hold of you and it makes you move, and it does something. Christopher Nolan's like really renowned for his action sequences.
And it's actually funny that you mentioned that, because the first 4 days of production was the cast and crew sitting and watching different movies that then inspired The Dark Knight. 2 of them, and you're gonna love this one. One of them was Heat.
Nice.
With Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer.
Yeah, I could see it. The whole intro. Yeah.
Yep. And the other one is Clockwork Orange.
Really? For
Yep.
Heath Ledger, right? For the Joker.
That I don't know, but I all I know is that movie was one of the movies that they watched to get inspired and get more ideas and everything right before they actually started shooting on the
That's
first
pretty
4
awesome.
days. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty awesome. I know that Nolan had a hard on for Stanley Kubrick, as much as I do apparently.
Apparently.
And especially Clockwork Orange. Jeez, that's awesome.
Yep.
That is
when I saw that, I'm like, oh, Lewis is gonna love this little tidbit of information.
right. Yeah, seriously. Honestly, favorite scene for me in this movie is definitely that whole sequence where the Joker and Batman are having the conversation in the interrogation room, and he kind of almost breaks Batman, and Batman just runs away. He's like, "Screw this guy's messing with me way too much," and he dips. Oh, that whole sequence is just so brilliantly done, and it's little moments that the Joker does spread out throughout the film that just kind of like it enthralls you in the character first of all, and then on top of that, it actually makes you kind of sympathize with the guy because it's like, damn, yeah, he has a point. And his whole theory on anarchy and all that stuff, I love that. That is just brilliant.
What doesn't kill you makes you stranger.
Yeah. Oh, he has the best lines in the movie. Let's be real. Like, he literally has the best lines in the movie.
Like, two of my favorite, my two favorite scenes are, and obviously, it's true what they say. You grow up idolizing Batman, but when you're an adult, you understand Joker.
Yeah.
And ever since I was a kid, I've always been more on the Joker-esque, and I've always been more on the villain side because everybody else was always the hero. But one is literally when he escapes and he's sitting behind the police vehicle and he's got the wind in his hair and he's got because that is Joker. Yeah. His plan has finally come to fruition. He did what he needed to do. He let them catch him, and he did whatever had to be done in order for him to accomplish his plan, which is as Joker as they get. And the other one is the conversation that they have outside of the skyscraper when he's hanging upside down, and there's the two boats that have to make the decision on, if you blow up the other one, you get to live kind of moment.
Yes.
And he's got and here we go. And nothing happens. But that line just right there, it's like, and that conversation literally it's like watching good versus evil, but instead of fighting, they're sitting at a chess table and they're playing chess.
And that's what he's all about. That's what he's all about.
Exactly. For him, it's all a chess game. It's about thinking not one, not two, but 5, 6, 7 moves ahead of your opponent, and not just in a straight linear way, because the plan doesn't always go your way. So you need to have contingency plan A, B, C, D, maybe even E, just to be sure.
Yep.
And even then, you just never know until it happens. And to me, that whole this was done masterfully, absolutely, not. And I'm not taking anything away at all from Batman when with Nicholson and Kilmer.
Oh no, yeah. No,
but this is more of a the mind game.
The Val Kilmer one, but
huh?
Not so much the Val Kilmer one. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm talking about Batman versus Joker kind of moments, movies.
All right, yeah, I guess. But I mean, you even had Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying the mind game and the chess game you want to call it between these two famous, because between in any comic book series that you think, whether you think Marvel, whether you think DC, Dark Comics, any other kind of comic company, Batman versus Joker, it's like Lex Luthor versus Superman, it's like the Green Goblin versus Spider-Man, You know,
It's the
however,
number one
whichever.
villain. It's the arch nemesis.
It's the
Con-
arch nemesis. And when you're able to put two arch nemesis in the same room at the same time, and more than once in the movie, obviously, but where it's not fighting
yeah.
physically, but it's a verbal war of words. Say that 5 times fast. Uh, that it's to me that's where I got sucked in. That's where I'm like, oh, like here
Oh
we
yeah,
go.
100%, dude. 100% agree with that. And it goes back to the writing. It goes back to Nolan's writing and Jonathan Nolan, obviously, and then Christopher Nolan transcribing it into film with all the actors on board. That just kind of it makes these characters pop out of the screen, and I think Christopher Nolan's known for that, though. Like it honestly goes back to him making these characters something bigger than they really are, and he did such a great job of that type of interaction with these actors and kind of doing the guidance for these actors or no guidance and allowing these actors to be who they want to be and allow them to act, which sometimes that's harder than taking the wheel and steering the ship, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I totally agree with you on that fact. I mean, it's hard to make a superhero movie that's not the same, because after a while it gets, you don't want to get stagnant and be the same, have the same formula. But they made a movie which to this day is probably one of the best superhero movies.
Oh, I would argue say the best, but that's just me.
I mean, like I would have to literally look into everything that was made, but I mean, it's definitely top three there in the world. To the point where it got nominated for eight Academy Awards, of
A
which
superhero movie, guys.
it won two of them.
Yep.
It won for Best Supporting Actor, obviously for Heath Ledger, and Best Sound Editing, Richard King. But on top of it, cinematography, visual effects, sound mixing, film editing, production design, and makeup, all nominated for it. Now, as we all know, Heath Ledger ended up winning Best Supporting Actor. And to me, don't get me wrong, did he deserve the nomination? Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
He absolutely did. Had he not passed away,
he would have gotten shrunk.
think-
He would have gotten no.
do you think that he would not nominated, but do you think he would have won?
No.
Because
I don't think
that year, though, keep this in mind. The other nominations was Josh Brolin in Milk, which I think he was really good, but I don't think winning it would have been. Michael Shannon in Revolutionary Road.
That was a phenomenal performance, but nowhere near.
Robert Downey Jr., Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman in Doubt.
No, I think he would have won it. Out of that selection, I really think that it might have been Milk. It might have gone to Milk rather than
I think they were going to Milk because that was obviously the year that Sean Penn won his Academy Award.
Yeah.
So and
not only that, it's just the snobs and the Academy Awards kind of they go for those politically correct movies. It's like, oh yay, somebody that's making a movie about gay rights and all that stuff. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna give the awards to them. Everything goes to them. We don't care.
You have to remember though, Josh Brolin plays the guy that ends up killing Harvey Milk. So
correct, but still, it's a movie about gay rights.
Yeah, I think that Philip Seymour Hoffman would have won it that year.
I don't think so. He's gotten snubbed so many times that I don't think so.
Well, I mean, he won it for Capote.
He did, but that was his worst movie.
Oh wow!
So I mean, that's his worst performance in all the movies. So there you go. Obviously, not he's not an Academy darling. That's for sure. So it's kind of like, nah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm glad that it would
Heath
have been
Ledger
great to
definitely
see him
deserved
and win it. Yeah, he definitely deserved it. I'm glad that he won it. I wish that he wouldn't have won it posthumously,
it. Yeah.
but um, again, this goes back to this movie was so good that it was a I want to call it like semi-giant bleep on the Academy Award
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
8 nominations. I would have to do homework, but I don't remember ever seeing a superhero movie that got 8
No.
nominations, let alone win
Not that I can recall. Even
25% of them.
yeah, even the Batman movies. I think the original Batman movies. I think they got 1 or 2 nominations each of them. Like the Tim Burton ones. I think
Mm-hmm.
at the most, and then the Superman, the the first two. I think they might have had 1 nomination each, and then no, and none of the Marvel movies, right?
I don't believe that. As far as Academy Awards, because then if you think like Golden Globes
Oh, but
or
that's
anything
different.
like that, that's a whole different story. So we're just talking like, if anybody wants to get into the whole debate about the Golden Globes and whatnot, we're not taking away from any other kind of Academy Award
Yeah,
award show.
yeah, the
But
Academy
it's
Awards is the Super Bowl, and the rest is kind of like the Rose Bowl. It's like, yeah, whatever.
it's kind
Nobody
of
really knows about
wow.
that. Um, let's be real. I mean, that's what it is. The Academy's, as much as I hate the Academy Awards, that's it's the Super Bowl for us movie nerds. That
Batman Begins won for not won. Sorry, was nominated for cinematography.
see one, yeah. It's
One.
usually like 1 or 2 at the most for comic book movies, and then this one just freaking completely landslide on everything, and it's like getting nominations, obviously, and then it's honestly the best, and it's set the bar for all these movies now. And I don't think if this wouldn't have been the success that it would have been, I don't think Marvel would have got their footing and had a proper start, gotten the funding, everything that they needed, the prestige to actually do these films.
I don't know.
Because
That would be. I think that would be a long, not necessarily long, but that would be a debate for a different show. As far like not necessarily DC versus like Marvel, but the influence of the success of Batman Begins on the followings of DC, Marvel, and other superhero movies. Because eventually Marvel would have had to come out with something.
oh yeah, but I mean they already did, which was Iron Man, but the first Iron Man. This was the same year that Dark Knight came out. But
Was
I
it
mean,
was it the same year?
yeah, it was the same year. And that movie really, it was okay. Yeah, it was good. But and Robert Downey he honestly made the best. He was the best part of the movie.
Oh
But
yeah, May
it
2nd,
wasn't.
2008.
Yeah, it wasn't like major or anything. And honestly, if it wasn't for the sequels afterwards, we probably wouldn't have known anything else of Iron Man after it. So the sequels were a lot better though, and that was when
Oh yeah.
Marvel took over, and that was after Dark Knight, which set the pace for everybody. It set the tone for everybody, not only because the movie was successful financially, it was successful in the Academy Awards, which that gives you the prestige to be able to ask for the money and liberties that you want to have to make a film like this. If it wasn't for that, Marvel would not be able to do what they wanted to do.
I'm going to disagree with like I'm not fully disagreeing with you, but I'm going to disagree as far as Batman like Dark Knight was as influential in that decision as it was because um, Iron Man came out 2 months prior to Dark Knight and was already in the millions of dollars in profit. To which, and on top of it, you have to remember the original after credit scene in Marvel was Nick Fury talking about the Avenger Initiative. So Marvel already had it in their
That wasn't
For
actually done by
Virgil.
Marvel. The first one. It wasn't a Marvel movie. It was, I believe, Fox, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait, Fox did something right?
Yeah, seriously. It was John Favreau. I know that much, and I believe. Let me just search that. What was it? Come on. I know it wasn't. It wasn't. It
It
wasn't.
wasn't.
What do you call it?
It wasn't Marvel Studios that.
No, it was not Marvel Studios. It had the
Huh.
title. It had the what do you call it? The logo of it, because anything that was Marvel had to have the logo at that point in time, because they bought the rights from them for the film. But it was not a Marvel Studios film. It was Marvel Comics. Which, if you notice, the intro is different.
Yeah.
The post credit scene in Iron Man 1 is actually put in on the DVD. It was not in the theater release. When I went to watch the theater, there was no post credit scene. So that
Oh.
was actually added afterwards because they wanted to make it continuous, you know?
Wow! It made $98 million its opening weekend.
Yeah. No, it was
The
phenomenal.
the budget was 140 million, and it made 98 million. It made obviously more than half of its budget back.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we can talk Iron Man and Marvel on a different episode because that's something
Yes.
that we can. I would love to partake if you decide to do that. By the way, shoot me a message because I'm definitely down for that. But Dark Knight, The Dark Knight, and unfortunately, because of the events that happened with Heath Ledger, it is a very well-known fact now that Christopher Nolan was going to at least touch on the Joker aspect, or make a nod that he was sent to Arkham or whatever. But because of his passing, Christopher actually, or Mr. Nolan, sorry, we're not exactly on first name basis. He, out of respect, decided that he was going to not even touch it with a 10-foot pole. I'm just gonna let it go, and that's it.
Yeah.
And let it be. And would we have had a different storyline for Dark Knight Rises? Would Bane even have been an issue, or had it been different? Would the storyline, would Joker have played in with Bane?
Well,
who knows?
Jonathan Nolan actually wrote the script for all three together, and it was actually Bane was always going to be part of it. And what it was Joker's was going to be at the beginning of the film, just like Scarecrow was at the beginning of Dark Knight. They wanted to have that continuous thing, connecting the previous film together. But he would only be in the intro and only for a quick snippet. So he was going to be in Arkham and set this whole thing in motion where Bane was going to connect with Dark Knight. But he was going to play a back role on it. So that's where it was kind of funky. And that's why you kind of see at the beginning of Dark Knight Rises kind of an odd placement of things happening. It's because of that. They kind of had to rewrite everything randomly and quickly. So that's why it's kind of wonky the beginning of the film. But going back to what you said about Iron Man, the Dark Knight actually grossed 158 million the first weekend. That's nothing.
Dark Knight did?
Yeah. And then a total of 1 billion.
Now, what you could say, playing devil's advocate here, of course, as always, is that Iron Man had a hand in helping Dark Knight be successful, because 2 months prior to this movie coming out, Iron Man came out and was a multi-million dollar success. So
yes, it was.
Writing on that and people going, oh, so if Iron Man was this good, and obviously the first Dark Knight was this good, the streak just kept going.
Yes, I would say that, but I would say that The Dark Knight took it to that next level where they were able to go to the studios and ask for more money, because
Yeah.
realistically all the budgets doubled after this. Iron Man and Dark Knight had the same budget, mind you. Okay,
Hmm.
Iron Man made 588 million. Dark Knight made 1 billion. So it doubled with the same cost, and that was just crazy because even Dark Knight, the what do you call it, Batman Begins, kind of set that mode too, and it's incredible where you see that
Can
Christopher
you
Nolan.
imagine if Christopher Nolan would have never hung up his director uh, shoes, so to speak, when it comes to superhero movies, and had he gone on to do something like Justice League,
Oh God, that would have been amazing.
or even Suicide Squad? Can you
I can't even
imagine?
imagine that movie being good. That's how
It,
bad it was.
I can. Oh my God, Christopher Nolan. Oh, I don't even know. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
one of those what ifs, and you wish that it would have happened, and God knows what would have happened. But
Oh, that would have been amazing though. Like it really would have. And honestly, we might have been able to see another renaissance in the DC universe, because honestly that crap has gotten really bad. And I don't know if there's any saving grace anymore with DC. And honestly, the Marvel movies have taken over, unfortunately, because I really don't care for Marvel that much. And I like Batman, I like Superman. Those are the ones that I grew up watching. I love those films because I've never read the comics. So, and the animated series of Batman was phenomenal. So I've always liked DC more than Marvel, and I still, even to this day, I just kind of like, all right, whatever. Marvel's good, but it's getting better. But I would always watch Batman over any of the Marvel movies, and that tells you a lot because they've gotten really good. So this movie kind of sets the bar on all that stuff, and that's what I was getting at. But impact wise, do you remember when you went to first watch it? What was your initial reaction? How did you feel? Did you watch this in theaters, or you watched it on DVD when it came out?
no, I actually watched it in theaters because I gotten smart enough to know by then that when something big like that comes out, you don't wait till it's on DVD. I didn't get to see it in IMAX, but I watched it on regular.
Ooh. I watched it in IMAX. I'm gonna one up you on that one. That thing, holy crap, that was an experience. And I got a chance to watch it on 70 millimeter, which was holy shit,
Well,
amazing.
the reason also is because well, back then, this was up until very recently, my broke ass couldn't afford to go to IMAX, so I was always like, I'm gonna go watch a movie in regular first, and then if I feel like IMAX is something that I want to invest in, absolutely. But now that I have the AMC A plus, if I can, I go watch it in IMAX every single time,
Yeah,
just because I'm not losing money out of it. But um, I did get to go see Doctor Strange in IMAX, which was actually
nice.
really well, especially that the ending scenes. For those that haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. But
Yeah. Oh,
um,
after Dark Knight, I've watched every single Christopher Nolan film in 70 millimeter in theaters because it is an experience in its own, and it really, like, there's nothing like it. It's
I
incredible.
bet you, since you're gonna one up me on Dark Knight and Christopher Nolan movies, I'm going to one up you in Christopher Nolan movies.
Okay.
Um, Dunkirk,
Yes.
70 millimeter on an air carrier.
On an air carrier.
The Intrepid, right down the street from where I live.
What?
It's a museum now, and they do during the summer. They do uh, a movie under the stars or whatever it's called. I
Yeah,
forget what
yeah,
it's
yeah,
called.
yeah. Oh my God, that's
Um,
amazing.
and they had to reschedule it because the night we were supposed to go, it rained, but we had already gotten tickets. But when we got to go, I got to watch it on an air carrier. So,
Wow.
ha, 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 on your IMAX Dark Knight.
Damn you. All right. You win, asshole. No, but dude,
um,
like it overall, that is the must do for anything Christopher Nolan. You have to watch that in IMAX, and they bring it around back every once in a while. The 70 millimeter print, they actually tour it with, because that theater you could only really show 70 millimeter prints. So there's only so many movies that have done that, mostly Christopher Nolan movies. So they kind of circulate them back around, and you can actually get the opportunity to see them. You just got to go
nice.
and find the right theater that does it, because it is fantastic and is well worth the trip.
Um, Real quick, because as we're talking, I'm looking at more like stuff for like about a Dark Knight, because when you think you know everything about a movie, then you find out something else that's new. Before you even see the Joker, two things: when he's standing outside and all you see is him holding that clown mask,
Yeah. Oh, so good.
that is actually an Easter egg. The clown masks are from the 1966 season 1, episode 5 of Batman, named The Joker is Wild,
No shit.
where we're introduced to the Joker, and when we first see him on camera, he's actually wearing that mask.
Oh wow, that's awesome. It,
And in the
it's
same
so
scene,
cool.
off in the background to the left, and you have to really squint your eyes, but if you look it up, you'll find it. There is a Spider-Man 3 movie poster.
Really?
So the rumor or the thought is that Batman is actually happening in real life. Like you were touching before, where
Told
you're
you,
like,
man.
oh,
Yeah.
he's
That
like, they were waiting for that billionaire and whatnot. I forgot to talk about it then. That's how Christopher Nolan plays it. He plays it so much that he has a Marvel poster.
that's pretty awesome, man. That is pretty awesome. And I mean, this film, it runs 2 hours and 30 minutes. And this is a PG-13 movie, dude. This is not even a
Dear
rated R
God.
movie. And
Dear God.
it's like, wow, they were able to do so much with that PG-13 rating. And 2.5 hours, dude, that is incredible, because that movie does not feel like a 2.5 hour long movie. It feels like an hour and a half max. And the pacing on it is just phenomenal. And that's the next thing that I wanted to go over, is the pacing of this film. Each of those action sequences are so well paced and so deliberately put to move the movie forward in those critical moments where it's slowed down to a pulse for a reason, so you could actually see these characters develop. And then as soon as they're finishing developing a character to the point where they want to, they slingshot you into these action sequences that just completely engulf you even further and deeper into the rabbit hole. And that's what I love about this film, is that it does that. And that's master filmmaking and just master entertainment. That is just the epitome of what we want to go watch in movies, is something like this that makes you feel something and makes you completely engrossed in a film. And that's what I love about movies, is that exact thing.
And you're right. It's perfectly done in the sense it's like you have action, and then it's like, okay, now you get to breathe. But as soon as you get to breathe, something else happened. Like the perfect example is when Joker is sitting in the jail cell,
Yeah.
and they are promoting Gordon to the commissioner at this point, and you're like, oh, okay, here we go, a little breather moment. And the next thing you know, a bomb goes off. The Joker's running away. There's that whole scene underneath the underneath the bridge and the chase, and you're going, dude, like not even a minute ago we were sitting in a jail cell just
Yeah, right.
chilling, and
That's
oh,
incredible. And the whole sequences with them at the top with the bat signal and all that stuff, with Gordon and all that is just phenomenal writing. And it's what do you call it, giving backstory without making it look cheesy and making it look cramped and just god awfully put. You know, this is the way that it should be done in films. It's not pushing it on you in such a way that it kind of makes you feel awkward or makes the film completely stop. The pacing, the way that Nolan moves the camera around all three of them in kind of like this circular motion, so you see a complete 360 of the city and everything around them, creates this kind of whirlwind effect of everything that's going on in their minds. And it's just, there's so much work in this film that is so behind the scenes, and the more you watch it, the more you catch little things. Like, I've never seen that poster of Spider-Man 3. I've never seen a lot of the things that you just brought up now, and that happens every time I watch the movie. It's crazy.
And you know what's funny? We've been talking about Batman versus Joker and this whole thing, which is you know, I'm not taking away from it. Neither of us have even touched on Two-Face.
Oh my God! Let me tell you,
Two-Face is a huge part of this movie, and the way that Joker literally goes out to, you know, like you said, turn Gotham's angel into its demon, and the way that he's able to do it. And neither of us have even touched upon it. And that's how good it is.
Yeah. Oh, but it's so well done. It's done in such a way that you could imagine it. It's so badly written, that character in other movies, the Two-Face character. And the way that they made it in this film is so believable. It's so realistic. And it's like, damn, that's how that would be a normal villain, is some guy just goes through this trouble and he does this out of revenge. And that's crazy. That is like true motivation. And again, it goes back to the writing style of this, that it is so well done that it's placed in reality and it's based on reality. It's grounded. And that's what sets it apart from every other superhero movie. It's like, this could actually happen right now.
and the memes that have come out of this movie as well is,
oh, dude, there's so many. So let's wrap up this episode with
absolutely.
What are your final thoughts on this film? What are your closing remarks on it?
I wish Christopher Nolan would come back out and decide to do another trilogy. I don't even care at this point what movie or what hero he's going with. If he does anything even as close, as remotely close as he did with Dark Knight series, I'm there already. Take my money now, because
throw that money out.
Usually we all know that in a trilogy, the second movie is the setup movie. Nobody really cares about it. You know, it's kind of like, oh, here we go. You know, not much is going to happen. And yet Dark Knight, to me anyway, is the best of the trilogy. It's the masterpiece of all three movies.
Oh, and, yeah, 100%.
I obviously it will never be duplicated. It will never be replicated. The lightning will never strike twice like it did for this movie, I think, for superhero movies. Even with as great as Marvel is doing nowadays, and we're all anticipating Avengers Endgame, I don't think that Endgame is going to be as good as Dark Knight. And I'm a Marvel fan. Like, over the two of them, I'm definitely a Marvel fan over a DC fan. But if somebody were to give me a choice of, like, top 3 superhero movies of all time, Dark Knight is on that list. Dark Knight all day, every day, and it's probably like the number one. You're right. It's probably like the best made, and I wish that more people would go and try to really understand the making. Like, Christopher Nolan needs to do a university class on this.
Oh, dude, that was, I definitely want to close with that remark, that when you're able to get a filmmaker that actually has not only the prestige and ability to bring forward a film like this and make it so commercially available mentally and financially to everybody, because this is something that everybody could literally understand and grasp and enjoy. And that is master filmmaking, because that's what it is. Guys, filmmaking is not about, this is a beautiful shot, this is beautiful cinematography. Yeah, that adds to the experience, but entertainment. That's what it's all about. entertain people, make people happy, make people feel an emotion, make people fall for this story and love these stories for 2.5 hours and sit there for 2.5 hours out of your busy ass day and be able to completely absorb yourself in this story. That's master filmmaking. That's entertainment. That's what Christopher Nolan does in every single one of his films, and that is definitely the part where he needs to teach some of these directors how to do it, because there's only a few directors that can do that. Spielberg is one of them. Kubrick is another one. Nolan is in there. Scorsese is another one. There's
Del Toro, I think Del Toro is definitely another one.
Del Toro's gotten a little. He's more artsy than real like every person type of entertainment. It's a little bit harder to absorb his films.
Scorsese.
Oh, Scorsese for sure, 100%. I would even say Francis Ford Coppola to a certain extent. He has very accessibility in his films, but I mean, there's a handful of them. That's incredible. That there's only a handful of directors that you could actually literally say that all their films. Most 90% of their films are good, and you're willing to rewatch the films. That's incredible. And honestly, those 8 directors that I just listed, those are the best. Those are the ones that stand out the most. Those are the ones that you could go there and rewatch these movies over and over again because they're so good. And Christopher Nolan does that in this instance with The Dark Knight, and it really. It's a tribute to the directing. It's a tribute to the phenomenal cast and acting talent that is in this film. And I don't think it could ever be duplicated because it was that perfect storm of everything. With the Hans Zimmer score, the just epic editing in this film, because this film is phenomenally edited. And it's so well done that there's nothing about it that I find any flaws. Major flaws, that is. And there's kind of little nitpicking things that you could do, but that's about it, man. That's about it. So honestly, it's a perfect 10 out of 10 for me, always.
Yeah, I'm definitely up there with it. Yeah, when it comes to superhero movies, it is most definitely a 10.
Sweet. So thank you, William, for joining us on this episode, and I really appreciate your insight on this one. I definitely wanted to do it with somebody that loves this film, so yeah.
I appreciate it very much, because the moment you asked me about it, you saw that I had no hesitation. I'm like, I'm all yeah. Mine. So thank you for having me. Always fun, always a pleasure.
Yeah. And of course, check out our other content. On Mondays, we do Doctor Who in review. That just hit that subscribe button on the podcasting and get all the notifications of our 3 podcasts that we do. And then, of course, our Friday episode where William joins us again every week with Brandon. And we really go, it's 3 bros talking about movies and basically those bar talks and those talks on the couch about movies. That's what we do. That's kind of the approach that we go with it, and it's a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to our next episode, or the next time that you have me on the show.
Yes. So thank you guys, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time for another episode of Man Bites Retro.